never thought I'd end up here, but honestly, life has a way of surprising you with the worst kind of twists. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Emily, for about 7 years now. We met in college, great chemistry, the kind of love that made everyone around us think we were perfect. We got married 3 years ago on what we considered our big day. It was supposed to be the start of forever, you know. But somewhere along the way, I started noticing little things that didn't quite add up. Emily's always been a bit of a bitch, honestly. She's sharp with her words, quick to dismiss anyone she doesn't like, and she's got that "I'm better than you" attitude that she's always flaunted. But I loved her, or at least I thought I did. Things changed recently, though. She started working late more often, claiming it was just the job. I figured it was a new project or some promotion she was chasing, but I also noticed she was secretive in a way that made my stomach tighten. Her phone became more glued to her hand, and she'd brush me off if I tried to get close when she was on it. Our anniversary was coming up, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't feeling suspicious. Emily told me she had a work event that night, said it was a dinner with clients, and I believed her because she had been acting normal enough. Or so I thought. She left that evening wearing her best dress, all shiny and confident, and kissed me goodbye with a smirk that I didn't like. She said she'd be home by 11. I watched her walk out the door, feeling a weird mix of hope and dread. I mean, I wanted to trust her, but I couldn't shake this feeling that something was wrong. That night passed and she didn't come home. No call, no message. I stayed up waiting, my mind racing with all the worst possibilities. By midnight, I couldn't keep it in anymore, so I went through her phone while she was supposedly at the event. That's when I saw the messages. Nothing explicit at first, just a few flirty texts with her boss, Mark. Nothing too crazy, maybe just workplace banter, but enough to make me feel sick. I kept digging. Then I found the hotel receipts buried deep in her photos, hidden under a folder labeled "Misk." My heart dropped. They were from a hotel downtown, booked just 2 nights ago, the night of our anniversary dinner. I stared at those receipts for a long time, trying to process what I was seeing. It was real. She lied about being at a work dinner. She was with him, Mark. The same Mark she's always been polite to, always flirty with, but I never thought she'd actually sleep with her boss. It was like my entire world just shattered into 1,000 pieces. The anger, the betrayal, the feeling of being so stupid for trusting her, everything hit me at once. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew that nothing good would come out of that conversation. Still, I needed to hear her lie to my face, to see her try to spin it. The next morning, I waited until she came home, trying to keep my cool. When she stepped through the door, I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "We need to talk." Her face instantly hardened, that bitchy smirk returning. She tried to brush it off, act like I was overreacting. Said I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, that I was just hurt because I was insecure. But I was. I knew what I saw, and I wasn't about to let her lie her way out of this. That's when I showed her the hotel receipts and the texts. Her face turned pale, then red with anger. She started yelling, calling me crazy, accusing me of invading her privacy, saying I was just jealous because I didn't trust her. She's always been good at lying, and she's good at turning the tables, but I saw through her bullshit. I told her I wasn't stupid, that I knew she'd been sleeping with her boss, that I had proof. Her response? A snide comment about how she was just trying to get ahead, how it's not a big deal, and that I was being ridiculous. That's when I realized I was married to someone who didn't respect me or our marriage at all. That was the moment I knew my life was about to change forever. After she threw that dismissive comment at me, I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach all over again. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the way she acted, like she didn't give a damn, that she'd lied, cheated, and basically used me as some kind of fool. I could see in her eyes she thought she was clever, that she had me right where she wanted. But I wasn't about to be played anymore. My mind raced through all the times she'd worked late, all the nights I'd felt that gnawing suspicion but told myself I was overthinking. Turns out I was. She kept insisting she was just doing her job, that Mark was a friend, and that I was overreacting because I was insecure or jealous. She tried to turn it around like I was the one who was cheating on her emotionally by not trusting her. It was infuriating. I told her I wasn't stupid, that I'd seen enough to know what was really going on. that I wasn't going to let her gaslight me into believing her lies. Her eyes flicked around the room, and I could see that bitchy smirk creeping back again. She's always been good at hiding her true feelings, hiding her guilt behind that sharp exterior. I realized then that I was done pretending. I wasn't going to just walk away quietly, not after all the years I put into this marriage. I wanted her to feel some of what she made me feel, betrayed, humiliated, and angry. I knew I needed a plan, something to make her regret what she'd done, but I wasn't sure what exactly yet. I sat there, staring at her, trying to keep my composure, but inside I was boiling over. She said she was sorry. Yeah, right. That was her usual go-to when she got caught, pretend to be remorseful, then go right back to her lies. She told me she never meant to hurt me, that it was a mistake, that Mark was just a crush, and that she was confused. I couldn't believe a word of it. I mean, how do you even respond to that? I felt this huge wave of disappointment, but also this rising fury. I thought, no, you don't get to just apologize and move on. Not after this. I told her she needed to leave. That I needed some space to think about what kind of person she really was. She raised her voice, called me a bunch of names, said I was overreacting, that I was controlling, but I didn't care. I wanted her gone. I told her I was done, that I didn't want to see her face again until she could be honest with herself and with me. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her, and I was left standing there, feeling like I'd been put through a blender. That night I couldn't sleep. All I could think about was her, and how she'd lied to me for months, maybe longer. I kept replaying that night, those texts, the hotel receipts, her smug attitude. I felt a mixture of heartbreak and rage I'd never experienced before. How could she do this to me, to us? Our life, our plans, everything I thought was real. The trust I had in her was shattered into tiny pieces. Honestly, I was at a complete loss. Part of me wanted to confront her again, demand answers, tell her how much she'd hurt me. But another part just wanted to cut her out completely and move on. I knew I'd have to decide soon, and that decision would define everything going forward. The days that followed were a blur. I stayed in that fog of disbelief, trying to piece together how I missed so many signs, or maybe just refused to see them. I kept asking myself over and over, was I blind? Was I so wrapped up in our routine that I didn't notice her sneaking around? Or was I just stupid for trusting someone who clearly didn't give a damn about me anymore? The worst part was that I still loved her, or at least I thought I did. But love isn't supposed to hurt this much. Not like this. I also started noticing small things that I'd overlooked before. Her phone was always hidden now more than ever. She kept her social media accounts more locked down, and she was more curt when I tried to talk to her. I found her lying about her whereabouts, about who she was texting. It was like she was on a mission to hide everything from me. I was furious, but I also felt helpless. How do you compete with someone who's been lying to your face for so long? I felt like a damn fool for not seeing the signs earlier. One afternoon, I decided I needed to get some actual proof, something concrete. I remembered she'd been acting more secretive lately, even more so than before. So I went into her purse when she wasn't looking, just to see if I could find anything that would give me closure. That's when I saw the hotel key card tucked away at the bottom of her bag. My stomach clenched. I didn't even need to open it. Just holding it in my hand told me everything I needed to know. She'd been lying about work dinners or late shifts all along. She'd been in that hotel with Mark, probably more than once. That was the moment I decided I couldn't just sit around and wait for her to come back with some excuse. I needed to confront her again, but this time with everything laid out on the table. I called her up, told her I knew the truth, and that I wasn't going to let her keep lying, at least not anymore. Her tone was defensive, dismissive even. She said I was paranoid, jealous, and that I was crazy for accusing her of cheating. She claimed she was just working late, just trying to make a career for herself, and that Mark was just a friend. Yeah, right, that's what they all say. I told her I had proof, those hotel receipts, the photos, her texts, and I was done playing her game. That if she loved me, she'd come home and talk to me like an adult. But I could hear how irritated she was, that bitchy edge in her voice. She said I was ruining everything, that I was controlling, and that she deserved more respect. That's when I snapped. I told her she didn't deserve from me anymore, that she had crossed a line I wasn't going to let her walk back across. I told her she needed to leave, that I didn't want to see her face again until she was honest with herself. She hung up on me after that, screaming, calling me a bunch of names, saying I was overreacting. But I didn't care. All I knew was that I was done, done with her lies, done with the betrayal, done with feeling like a fool. I packed a bag, told her to stay away, and I stayed up that night staring at the ceiling, wondering what the hell I'd done wrong, how I'd somehow let this woman destroy what we built just like that. It hurts so bad to realize someone you loved could turn into someone so unrecognizable, someone so selfish and cruel. I kept asking myself if I should forgive her, if I could ever trust her again. Honestly, I don't think I could. Not after finding out that she'd been sneaking around, sleeping with her boss, lying to my face. The betrayal runs too deep. It's like she took a knife and plunged it right into my chest, then smiled about it. It's a bitter pill, but I know I need to move on. I just wish I'd seen it coming sooner. I wish I'd been more aware, more perceptive. Because now I realize that trust, once broken, isn't easily fixed. And some wounds, no matter how much you want to heal, leave scars. The worst part is that I kept asking myself if I was partly to blame. Did I miss the signs? Was I just too comfortable, too blind to see that my wife was slipping away from me? I kept going over everything, trying to find a reason or a justification that might ease the pain, but there was none. She lied to me for months, maybe longer, and slept with her boss behind my back. And all the while she acted like nothing had changed, like she was the victim. After she left that night, I realized I had to take control. I couldn't let her keep doing this, not just to me but to our marriage, what was left of it. I started by deleting her number, her social media accounts, everything that linked her to Mark. I wanted to cut her out of my life as much as possible. I also reached out to my brother and a close friend. I didn't want to go through this alone. They told me to stay strong, to focus on myself, and that I deserved better than someone who'd cheat and lie so effortlessly. That weekend, I decided I could no longer stay in the house. It felt like her presence was everywhere, her scent, her things, her empty space in the bed. I booked a hotel downtown, somewhere I could clear my head. I started to unpack everything, my feelings, the anger, the heartbreak, and I let myself feel every damn bit of it. I was angry at her, obviously, but I was also angry at myself for trusting her so blindly. I told myself I shouldn't have ignored the red flags, the little things that didn't add up, but I did. And now I had to pick up the pieces. While staying at the hotel, I made the decision not to contact her again. I knew she'd try to manipulate me, try to guilt me into taking her back, but I wasn't playing that game anymore. I had enough of her lies. I started thinking about what I really wanted. Was it to forgive and forget? Or was it to move on completely? Honestly, I didn't have an answer yet, but I knew I couldn't stay stuck in this limbo forever. I needed to decide whether I'd try to fix this or just walk away. In the quiet of that hotel room, I realized something else. I'd been a fool for so long, believing in the fairy tale of us. But the truth is, the fairy tale was all in my head. She didn't love me anymore. Maybe she never did. She loved her job, her career, her power more than she ever loved me. That's what really hurt. That someone I trusted so much had turned into a stranger who was capable of sneaking around, lying and sleeping with her boss while lying about it all. It's a bitter truth to swallow, but I had to accept it if I was ever going to move forward. I spent the rest of that weekend trying to piece my life back together. I knew I'd need to get a shrink, maybe start therapy, because the emotional toll was heavy. I also started thinking about what I wanted from now on, how I could rebuild my confidence, my sense of self without her. I knew I'd never forget what happened, but I also knew I couldn't let her betrayal define me. That realization was both freeing and terrifying. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one where I had to learn to live with the pain, learn to forgive myself, and figure out how to reclaim my happiness. But deep down, I knew the scar was there. It wasn't going anywhere. And maybe someday I'd find someone who deserved my trust, someone who wouldn't lie and cheat, someone I could truly count on. 4. Now I just needed time. Time to heal, time to understand that sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes you have to walk away before you become a shadow of yourself. The days turned into weeks, and each one felt heavier than the last. I tried to keep busy, throw myself into work, spend time with friends, anything to keep my mind from spiraling. But the truth is, every time I was alone, all I could think about was her, how she lied, how she slept with her boss, and how I had been so blind to it all. That betrayal left a mark I knew wouldn't fade easily. I kept asking myself if I should fight for us, if there was any way to repair the damage, but deep down, I knew the answer was probably no. Trust, once shattered, is damn near impossible to fix. I also realized that the anger I'd felt at first was giving way to a kind of numb sadness. I'd loved her, believed in us, and now all I had was the memory of what we once shared, mocked and destroyed by her selfishness. I kept replaying that moment when I confronted her, her smug smile, her dismissive attitude. It was like I'd been punched in the gut all over again. I couldn't understand how someone could be so cold, so indifferent to the pain they caused. It was like she didn't even care that she'd broken me. One thing I did was start seeing a therapist. Not because I thought I'd heal overnight, but because I needed someone to talk to who wouldn't judge me. The sessions helped me process some of the anger and confusion. I realized I wasn't weak for feeling hurt or betrayed. Those feelings were natural. But I also learned I had to protect myself, emotionally and mentally. I couldn't keep blaming myself or drowning in regret. I had to accept that sometimes people are just not meant to be in your life forever, especially ones who betray your trust so completely. Most importantly, I began to understand that I deserved more than someone who lied and cheated behind my back. I started to rebuild my confidence piece by piece. I set new boundaries. No more letting her get away with her bullshit, no more excuses. I knew I had to put myself first now, no matter how painful it was to let go of the past. I also realized I needed to forgive myself, because I couldn't change what happened, but I could control how I reacted to it. The betrayal wasn't my fault. I was loyal, I gave her everything, and yet she chose to betray me. That's on her, not me. By this point, I'd made the decision to divorce. It wasn't an easy choice, but it felt right. I needed to let go of the anger, the pain, and the betrayal if I ever wanted to move forward. I started the legal process, spoke to a lawyer, and began sorting out the logistics. The whole thing was draining, but I knew it was the only way to finally close that chapter of my life. I didn't want to be reminded of her every waking moment, and I definitely didn't want to be with someone who had so little respect for our marriage. As I sit here now, reflecting on everything, I realize I've learned some hard lessons. Trust is fragile. Once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. People can surprise you, usually in the worst ways. And sometimes, the only way to survive the storm is to walk away and focus on healing yourself. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'm stronger than I thought. I've been betrayed, yes, but I also learned that I am capable of surviving betrayal, of picking up the pieces, and of finding my happiness again without her. And that's what keeps me going. Looking back, I realize how much this whole ordeal has changed me. At first, I felt lost, humiliated, and furious. I let her betray me, and for a while, I thought I'd never recover from the pain. But slowly, I started building something new, something stronger. I learned that no matter how deep the betrayal cuts, you can find a way to heal if you give yourself time and space. I've come to understand that trust, once shattered, is almost impossible to fully restore, but that doesn't mean you have to live in its shadow forever. The hardest lesson I've learned is that I can't control other people's actions, only my reaction to them. I used to believe in forever, in loyalty, in fairytale love. Now I see that sometimes love isn't enough, people change, and sometimes they betray you in ways you never imagined. But that doesn't mean you're weak or stupid. It just means that life is unpredictable, and you have to be strong enough to walk away when something isn't right. Since the breakup, I've started focusing on myself. I've got a new apartment, I'm back at the gym, and I've even started dating again, carefully but with hope. It's strange how time can heal some wounds, but I know I'll never forget what she did. Still, I refuse to let her betrayal define my entire life. The scars are there, sure, but they're also a reminder that I survived, that I'm resilient, and that I deserve someone who respects and values me. To anyone going through something similar, trust me, I get it. It's one of the most painful things you'll ever experience. But don't let it break you. Take the time you need to grieve, to be angry, to cry if you have to. but also promise yourself that someday you'll come out on the other side stronger. Sometimes love just isn't enough, and walking away is the bravest thing you can do. Now, I look forward to a new chapter, one where I'm learning to love myself again, where I don't have to hide the pain behind a brave face. I know I'll never forget what happened, but I also know I won't let it ruin me, because life goes on and so do we. The betrayal hurt. Oh, it hurt so bad. But it also taught me that I am worth more than someone who would lie, cheat, and manipulate. That realization is what finally set me free.